flexing on these niggas. 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 Y'all know what it is. Flexing on these niggas. Flexing on these niggas. Yo, fuck it, I'm a monster. Ain't no hiding that, it's my posture. I be like chilling in the back with them bosses. Shit, get pulled back in the streets on some bullshit. I don't wanna fuck around and sleep. Chiropractic. Shit, knuckle left. You know what I mean? Boy, so far from that. You know what I mean? It ain't for the strap. Shit, magic in my jeans. I'm so far from rap. Genie at the bottle, genie at the bottle. Genie at the bottle, genie at the bottle. This is unbecoming things. This is everything I dream by design. Elevated, boy, that mind so creative. Thank the gods that I made it now. Flexing on these haters, hit a milestone. Hit a motherfucker if in my home. 30 in the chest and need a calzone. Boy, flexing on these haters. Hey. Welcome to Magic Up TV. I am your host, The Alchemist. Here's where we talk about love, we talk about law, we talk about life, we talk about everything. There's nothing off the table, and here's what we say. Life is easy. We make it hard. Peace, Eve. Peace. Come on in here. Come on in here. Come on in here. We are getting to it. You understand? We getting to it. I know it's been a while. It's not about the quantity. It is about the quality. You know what I'm saying? And I want to really share something with y'all. See, we're talking about higher magic. We're talking about higher things. And as we talk about higher things, you have to understand the universe starts shifting around you. The universe starts shifting around you. You know what to do when you get here. Hit the love button, hit the love, hit the like button, hit the share button. Let somebody know the Alchemist is in the building. We are talking about autophobia. We're talking about autophobia or the Jonah complex. A lot of y'all ain't never heard of this. A lot of you have never heard of the Jonah complex. See, we out here thinking we're experiencing things for the first time. That's half the dilemma that we go through. What Magic Up TV does is it allows you to come to a place that's familiar and really find conversation that speaks to your awakening. It's not product driven. It's transformative, right? And when things start to transform around you, it can become scary. Success could be scary. Like we all talk about failures and failing in life and not hitting the mark. And it's crazy because so many people can identify with that with no problem. So many people can be like, yeah, I failed, yeah, I'm going to get better, blah, blah, blah. But there's this thing called survivor's remorse. It used to be a show that came on called Survivor's Remorse. And that's the whole thing. You could feel a certain way for getting ahead of people. You could start to gain a complex about your transformation. Especially if that transformation is extremely powerful. How do you know, Seven? Because I think this is what I was dealing with for quite some time. When people ask me all the time, like, hey, why haven't you made any videos lately? I'm one of those healers that healing self is most important. If I can't heal self, there's no reason for me to be on the camera. Because if I can't heal self, how can I tell you how to heal? And the only way not the only way. One of the best ways to get to healing is self-acknowledgement and reflection. You understand? Self-reflection is extremely important because it determines our altitude. It determines how far we go up this food chain. What are we becoming acknowledgeable of? What are we becoming responsible to? And the more you spend time in that, the more you become responsible to self, the more you become responsible to your practices, the more you become responsible to your rituals, shit starts to change. Those desires become manifested. You know what I'm saying? And though we talk about it, imagine it's like being in a talent show.
right? Like you practiced when you was a kid, right? That very first talent show that you ever won. You practice as a kid, you practice as a kid, you practice as a kid. Your parents was like, ooh, you good, baby. But you know that there was a lot of other kids that was going to show up that day. You know what I'm saying? And you was dealing with that anxiety of not being good enough. See, this is different. What I'm about to talk about, this autophobia, is so much different. It's so much different. Watch. So, it's your first talent show, and you're nervous because these people are going to perform against you. This is your competition. This is your rivalry. They're talking about it in school. Hey, girl, wait to Saturday. Wait to Friday. I'm going to kill you in the competition. Oh, hey, boy, I'm going to kill you in the competition. All that stuff is going on. All that energy is building up. All that anxiety. And you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice. And then the day comes. The day comes for you to put up a shut up. And from out of nowhere, everything that you've practiced, everything by design, takes place with just minimal effort. And you blow the crowd away. And the competition is like, holy shit. Did you see so-and-so? Oh my God. That person is amazing. Did you see that? Did you hear that? Did you see what they did? And you crushed the competition. I mean, it wasn't even a competition. You absolutely murdered everyone around. So much so that they didn't even want to flex with you. They don't even, the next day in school, people talking about it. You remember that? You remember how that felt to be on top? There's a sense of responsibility that comes with that. You got to hold that title for the next round. You got to hold that title to the next one. There's anxiety. There's all sorts of things. But what we don't talk about often is the feeling of grandeur. How did it feel to know that you were actually better or you outperformed so-and-so? Oh, it's amazing. Now imagine you spend more time in that craft to the point where you're literally better than anyone else around you. See, when we talk about magic, for some reason we forget that it's an actuality. Like being a doctor, like being a mechanic, like being anything. And if we can look at those occupations and go, that's a who's who of Charlotte. That's a who's who of Phoenix. That's a who's who of LA in that craft. Then why can't we understand that this actually is the whole reason anyone can be a master of those crafts is because being a master of the craft came first. And what happens when you realize that you actually do have this amazing gift? Because see, in the celestial world, in this world of magic, in this world of manifestation, making something into something, bringing it from a thought into an actuality, man, not many people can do that. Not consciously. Most people just look up on it. A happenstance. They didn't spend time and say, I want the yellow shirt, and then all of a sudden the yellow shirt pop up. They just said, I want a shirt. They begged for it so bad. They didn't necessarily even work for it. They were just consistent. But what I'm talking about, those who they actually know that they know. And see, because we know what we know, that we know what we know, and we get around people who say, we get around people who we think are of a higher place than we are, and we hear them talk. And they'll say things like, I don't know anything. Right? Most be, whatever. Praise to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? They're in control area. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But see, the sun shines on us all. And everybody has 24 hours in a day. What we do at that time is what separates us from the next person. These choices. So what happens when you know the choice to make? And you know that that choice, once made, is going to actually put you in a place of reverence. Because of that actuality, we're good with calculation. Because of that actuality, some of us may form a condition which is called autophobia. What is autophobia? What is the Jonah complex? I'm glad you asked. Autophobia is the fear of oneself. It's an irrational fear of oneself and an intense self-fear that is groundless fear of one's self. It is termed autophobia, which comes from two Greek words, auto and phobia. The Jonah complex is also a fear of success, or the fear of being one's best. This fear prevents self-actualization or the realization of one's own potential. It is the fear of one's own greatness, the invasion of one's own destiny, or the avoidance of exercising one's talent. In this world of magic, it is very easy to fall into this trap. Because what happens when you tell someone, hey, I can see the future, and you literally tell them what happens, and then in a few days, it literally takes place the way that you say it, it can scare you. For those of you who are coming into this world anew, it can be very, very fearful. You get asked, what if I see this? Or what if I see that? Or what happens if this happens? Or what happens if I see this? When I freed the woman from prison in Panama, the one that was in Panama, I had to do so by possessing the bodies of 3 people at the same time in a 3-day cycle. Which meant that I had to touch someone on a whole nother country. In a whole nother country, I had to touch 2 people in a whole nother country, one that was here in the States. And it was done by design. I've got all the documentation. I can leave it in a screenshot, whatever. The point that I'm making is, it worked. So imagine someone across the street. Imagine someone across town. Imagine after being able to perform such tasks, there is really no one I cannot touch. Imagine knowing this. Imagine proving these things to be absolutely true. I've written actual codes for people for things that they've wanted, and it has come true. Imagine having that type of power. It could be absolutely scary. Why? Because, see, we run around here calling ourselves gods and goddesses. We do. It's a lot of you who call yourself gods and goddesses. It's a lot of you who call yourself kings and queens. What's the highest level of magic you've been able to obtain? Whatever that is, magnify that by 10 with a sense of control and imagine what that feels like. When I got locked up and they starved me for 5 days and I threw magic at the guard in front of 44 inmates and brought her to her knees and she couldn't stand up. Imagine what it must feel like to know that you could just throw something at somebody and bring them to their knees. The sense of control and responsibility that's in that. What happens if I lose control one day? What happens? That anxiety can build fear, and that fear can stifle you. It did for me. The Jonah complex comes from the biblical character Jonah. The prophet Jonah's invasion of destiny to prophesy the destruction of Nineveh. Any dilemma, paradox, or challenge faced by an individual may trigger reactions related to the Jonah complex. These challenges may vary in degree and in intensity. Such challenges may include career changes, beginning new stages in life, moving to new locations, interviews or auditions, and undertaking in new interpersonal commitments such as marriage. Other causes may include fear of the sense of responsibility and work required that is often attends recognition of one's own greatness, talents, and potential. A lot of people are afraid to be recognized. Do you know how much greatness would take place if those who, because a lot of times people confuse humility with meekness. You understand? And they don't want the recognition of greatness. But we're inundated with so much visualization and so much audibility of toxic nature. We're so inundated by toxic shit. Imagine those who really consumed with the light. Imagine if they just spoke once a week about something that they've done for someone that day or that week. Imagine what that would do to society. Fear of an extraordinary life would be too much or out of the ordinary and hence not acceptable to others, igniting rejection. I'm a polygamist and I'm a God. And those are my truths. You understand? And to say such things creates reaction whenever I say it. Not just because of the context, but because of the responsibility. And oftentimes, after such things have been confirmed, the fear of rejection has set in from time to time. Why? Because I don't necessarily need this drama today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't come out the house to create conflict. And based on where a person is in their spiritual walk, it could really trigger some people to hear you call yourself a God. Or to hear, just last night, the Queen was in the tub, and as often I'm sitting there, we're having a conversation. You know what I mean? Very enlightening conversation, very endearing. And I get a phone call from Brazil. And it was a good friend. Well, a good associate. Someone who's been following me on Facebook for quite some time. And he calls me from time to time. Hadn't heard from him in a while. And in the conversation, and I've got it on speakerphone because I wanted her to kind of get a sense of what I experienced. You understand? And he doesn't speak very good English, but he speaks well enough for me to understand. You know what I mean? And so in that conversation, he reverenced me. Okay? He says, Seven, you are a God, you are this and you are that. And I'm just letting them talk. And after the conversation was over, I had a conversation with the Queen, and I say, I think this is probably the reason I've held back a little bit from my lives as of late. This line of work comes with a high sense of reverence when you're really good at what you do. And when you're able to see the future, when you're able to know what's coming, it's a little different from just, stumbling upon it, right? And to know that I was once considered this and that, and I transcended that, but to know that this may appear to be cultish coming soon, I had to sit with that for a while. How do I feel about those who will follow the next round of what takes place? How would I feel about them being considered from the outside world cult? And I thought about it for a while. And I said, well, Those who don't understand will never understand. And I don't have a responsibility to those who have no understanding. My responsibility is to those who have at least some understanding. That's where my responsibility lies. And to transcend so quickly, to gain footing back into life as expected or as once lived or better, I've had people in my inbox like, yo, what you been doing? Like, you hit the lottery or you did this or this, that. Like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. People were asking me for money and this, that, and the third. And you have to understand, like Benny Hanna's, I made it right in front of you. I didn't just happenstance back into a life of, you know, wherever it is that I'm considered to be. I started from this. And sometimes you can allow people to let you rob yourself. That autophobia, when you know you are of greatness, I never forget the first time it happened. The very first time it happened, I had just got baptized into the church. Okay? I just got baptized into the church. And I had over 200 CDs. Oh my God. I had over 200 CDs. They were rap CDs, you know what I'm saying? Oh my, it took me forever to build this CD collection. Y'all remember the CD collection? You used to flip the CD page over and you had the 8 CDs in there. You're like, oh, and the cover was behind the CDs. You took pride in your CD collection. And the deacon came to my house one day. And he was like, this is what you listen to? And I was like, yeah. He was like, man, you know, this has no place in the house of the Lord. Right? I let this motherfucker talk me out of trashing my 200 CD collection. I let him talk me into it. I mean, I took them 200 CDs and I threw them in the dumpster in the name of Jesus. Yo! One day I wanted to hear that DMX, somebody about to make me lose my mind. I was like, man, where's... And I thought about it. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I forgot. I was like, oh my God. I threw away all of my CDs. I was sick. After the nostalgia, after the high of being baptized came down, you understand? after I dried off, and I went looking for my CDs, that was the first time I realized that I allowed someone to talk me into reducing myself. If God knew, first off, the whole scripture said, come as you are. So I couldn't even understand it. I was like, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to accept me as I am and then, you know what I'm saying, let me transform. But you came in here and talked me into throwing out my whole CD collection. Do you know how many people treated me like that the very first time I wrote a celestial code? I went on a live and was like, yo, I can write the future for people. People was in my inbox like, yo, why would you tell somebody that? It was like, yo, why would you tell somebody that? Well, what do you mean? Because I can. Yeah, but you don't tell people. Why not? Because you don't want people to think, what? A lot of you are allowing people to snuff yourself. A lot of you are allowing people to talk you into snuffing yourself. You become fearful of your own greatness. You did something one time, that one ritual that you got right. The fire went high, you know what I'm saying? The colors turned green and purple, you know what I mean? You conjured some shit, you know what I mean? You heard the voice, you was like, oh shit, I'm not doing that again. That worked. You know what I'm saying? You saw your granddaddy, your great-granddaddy, your great-grandmama. They all came. They were singing a hymn that you wrote down. You was like, oh, no. Oh, no. What's for you is for you. but if you don't use it, it will be taken from you. And that doesn't necessarily mean physically or metaphysically taken from you. What that means is that you start evading the responsibility that you've been given to yourself. You lose the footing of that responsibility and the calling of it, and it loses the luster, and you no longer have access to it. There's a time and a season, and if you don't know how to be in that season, if you're afraid, you know what I'm saying? It's like double dutch. If you're afraid to jump in, well, what if I trip? What if I fall? What if I do this? What if that's not really what you're afraid of. A lot of times when we stop doing shit, it's not because we're afraid of failing. A lot of times it's because we are afraid of absolutely being what we know that we are. Sometimes we are absolutely afraid of winning. Because a lot of us haven't seen it in the grandeur we see it for ourselves. Well, what if I get, I'll never forget. That used to be the topic of discussion in religion. You know what I'm saying? Becoming wealthy. I never forget the first time I heard that a rich man would never inherit the kingdom of heaven. Do you understand the mind fuck of that? Do you understand how controlling? Do you understand the programming of that scripture? A rich man will never inherit the kingdom of heaven? Oh, I argued that for about an hour with 6 people on the corner in Brooklyn. I'll never forget it. In these social circles of consciousness, you have people glorifying minimalism in order to give light to the Creator. Why? You got people running around here calling themselves a god. They not even making. They don't even know how to transcend past $30,000 a year. They don't know how to get out of a zip code that they're cursing every day. They wake up in a house that they condemn within their spirit every day. When you're despised of a specific thing, you know what I'm saying, and you know you got it within you to change it, and you don't. That's what creates hate. That's why people be hating on you when you hitting greatness and trying to talk you out of it. That's where a lot of this autophobia comes from. I've seen it in relationship where one partner is trying to snuff out another partner's greatness out of the fear of being left behind. So another partner starts creating this autophobia, you understand? Because they're buying into the program of non-greatness. Don't get too ahead of yourself. What happens when you're in a relationship, whatever, and you're looking in the mirror, you know what I'm saying, and you start flexing in the mirror, whatever the case, you know what I'm saying, somebody come up behind you and be like, you ain't that cute. Get out the mirror, boy. Get out the mirror, girl. Why? Ain't this what this shit was made for? For me to see myself? Why you don't want me seeing myself right now? If I want to stand in this mirror for an hour and a half, why you got a problem with that? There's other things you can be doing. That's better than looking at the greatness of my own reflection. What's better than that? So some of us don't even like looking in the mirror. We'll look in the mirror and know what needs to be changed. We know what we desire to see of ourselves. We know it. And out of the fear of being fine as hell, we don't do it. It's not the fear of the weights. It's not the fear of the of being inconvenienced. The time of going to the gym. That's not it. The last time you got fit, you couldn't even walk out the house. It was, oh my God, oh no goodness, oh. But you in there talking about how single you are. You in there talking about how lonely you feel. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't even just got to be from a maintenance sense. People who need friends or who want friends at a certain place in life, they looking for people who look like them. You coming out the house looking like nothing so you don't attract attention. I've heard people say this in sessions. You're afraid of looking good. Why? I would never spend money on a dress like that. Why not? I would never do that. Why not? We'll talk ourselves right out of a good thing. Some of us got so much self-hate. Where does it come from? It comes from our elders. It comes from our surroundings. It comes from our partners that we've allowed into our lives. And a lot of times, it comes from our partners. A lot of times it comes from those who are closest to us. Why? Because those who are closest to us are truly afraid of us leaving them behind. You know how great you are? You know how amazing you are? That last thing that you thought about that you didn't even do, you did that because you knew if you did it, you wouldn't even need that job. You go in, you've been thinking about walking in on that job and just how you gonna quit. Girl, I was gonna get a mariachi band, and you know what I'm saying? They was gonna walk in, Tamika's quitting today. You saw it in your mind. How? Off the business that you created last week. You got all this money in the bank. You got all this great credit, doing nothing with it. All these great ideas, doing nothing with it. Why? Fear of separating yourself from those around you. I realized after counseling my kids, association is so important to us. We're willing to dumb ourselves down. I was watching this show. I'm watching this show about a plane that crashed, and there was only one little boy that survived. Okay, and this little boy is seeing his dead brother. Okay, in one episode, the little boy, he has to go. He used to be homeschooled. Okay, his parents was homeschooling him. In the crash, he lost his mama, his daddy, and his brother. He lost his whole family, gone. He's the only survivor of the entire crash. Over 200 people on the flight. Okay, everybody is seeing him. When everybody see him, they're like, "Miracle boy, miracle boy, miracle boy." He's seeing his dead brother. He has to go live with his aunt and his uncle. Okay? His aunt tells him, look, you're going to have to go to school. So he's getting anxiety because he's never been to school before. His older brother used to go to school. The reason this little boy didn't go to school is because he's a genius. You understand? He's absolutely a genius, and people used to pick on him in school. So his mom removed him from school, put him in advanced classes at home, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's the backstory. Now, the point that I'm making. He got ready to go to public school, and he saw his brother, okay, his dead brother. And his brother said to him, when you go to take the test, fail it. Fail the test. For the first time in your life, just be normal. Stick to your kind. His brother said to him, people don't care how smart you are. They care how cool you are. I said, if this ain't the most toxic bullshit, you see how the program, do you see the programming? Do you see the programming? And what did the little boy do? He did exactly as the Spirit told him. What's the point that I'm making, Seven? I'm glad you asked. Just because you see spirits, just because you have access to the invisible, doesn't mean that even they are for your advancement. Not everything, even in the world of invisibility, not even in the world of the metaphysics, is for you. Just because you have access to it. This is your life. Don't allow anything to snuff your power. Nothing. Yes, there is a season for all things, but that's for you to know. That is not for you to be talked into. It should be only confirmed. You shouldn't be pushed out of your will. You should be pushed out of your comfort zone. There's a difference. What's the difference? I tell you like this. My son is learning to drive. He's 17. I just bought him a car for his birthday. The other day, I was about to take him back home, and I drove him in his car. And I asked him, I said, you ready to get on the highway? He said, well, I don't know, Dad. I said, no, you know. Tell me what you know. He said, no, I'm not ready to get on the highway. I said, okay, is that out of fear or is that out of knowledge? And do you know the difference? He said, it's out of knowledge. So I said, okay. I said, well, get in the driver's seat. We'll drive around the block a few times and let me see, what you do. So as he's driving, I'm observing. And I observed he was right. He was not ready for the highway. So the point that I'm making is that as a father, I could have pushed him. I could have been like, oh, come on, son. Without even seeing this. I hadn't seen his road mapping. His mother and grandmother been working with him so far. It's up to you to know. And once you know, once I knew that I could possess bodies, once that I knew that I could write code, once that I knew, now you understand what I'm saying? It's your responsibility to be responsible for it. Don't allow the sense of the responsibility to bring you fear and anxiety. Be the master of it by practicing and living in it more often. Instead of it being a majesty, make it a science. You understand? Because if you are in awe of yourself, if you are afraid of yourself, then you are keeping yourself from the most highest and the most miraculous work you are here to perform. That fear will keep you from transforming lives. It will keep you from transforming your own life first. And it doesn't matter how great your life is now. You know inside that it could be even better. See, for those of us who arrive at a particular place, they know that they lucked up on it. They know, you know what I'm saying? They almost didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, almost didn't make it. They almost didn't make it. They almost didn't. They landed. They was like, whoo, oh, boy, I ain't going nowhere because you know how shit. I almost didn't get this. I don't know how I even got this. I'm going to just stay here. For them, I get it. I understand. For those of you who have been in your craft, you've been working it out, you understand, and you hit that, take a moment, appreciate it, and then keep pushing. Keep pushing. That place of comfort, that place of nostalgia, that place of just complacency, it ruins magic. You start eating high on the hog. You know what I'm saying? And that can be at any level. You used to be from the street. You used to, you know what I'm saying? You was brought up in the hood. And now you're in middle class America, sitting in a house that you paying $900 a month for. You know what I'm saying? It's a $100,000 house, $120,000 house, whatever the case may be. You already know you done put that $1 million dream home, that $500,000 dream home on your dream board, on your vision board. Why'd you do that? See, people who felt like they could only get that $250,000 house, they put that on the dream board. But you ended up, you didn't do that. You put the $500,000 house on the dream board. Why'd you do that? You put, you know what I'm saying, summer vacations in the Canaans. You put, you know what I'm saying, children in private school. That's what you put on the dream board. Why'd you do that? You put children in private school, and then you allow somebody to talk you into homeschooling your kids, knowing good as hell well you ain't good at the homeschool shit. You wanted to start a business. Now, homeschooling your kids done stopped you from starting a business, you know what I'm saying, and putting your kids in private school. Now you done got distracted from your vision. You done got distracted from your own greatness, trying to be good. Whoo, what you say, 7? You got distracted from greatness, trying to be good. God. That was brilliant. You got distracted from greatness trying to be good. Let them be good. Let them be good. You got distracted from being phenomenal trying to be great. Let them be great. You got distracted from being God trying to be a queen, trying to be a king. Let them do that. You understand? You cannot build a house if everyone's a roofer. You cannot build a house if everyone showed up to build drywall. You gotta have an electrician. You gotta have somebody who's building the foundation. You gotta have somebody who's putting the roof on. As above, so below. You have to have the balance of the equation. If nobody allowed for themselves to be known as a roofer out of the fear, you understand, of being reverenced, because we can't finish this house without a roof. We can't finish it. Don't matter how much electricity we got running through it. We cannot finish this house without a roof. You afraid to raise your... Who can build a roof? Why you didn't put your hand up? You knew the answer in class. You the same person now you was then. All this healing work, all this... This is why I didn't do videos for months. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because we know what to do. Make better choices, be a better steward. It ain't really much more than that. This ain't your morning mass. It ain't your corner bar. It ain't no tab. You got to do the work. And once the work is done, you are allowed to sit on the throne. You are allowed to grab the scepter. Because people need you now. They need you now. All this tomorrow talk, all this what I'm gonna do, it frustrates me so much. I was willing to take on any task handed to me. All I give is my disclaimer. That's it. This is how it goes. Hey, Seven, I'm in prison in Panama and wanted to know if you could help me get back to the States. I ain't never did no shit like that before, but I was willing. I was willing to be great. I was willing. Here's the disclaimer. Now, I ain't never did no shit like that. But my success rate is in the over 95 percentile. You understand? I got a 95 plus percentile success ratio in this world of magic. Okay? So I'm willing to do the work. As long as you understand, we got a lot of properties we dealing with. But see, sometimes all people need is someone willing to step up and help them. Sometimes all people need is for you to claim that greatness. Sometimes that's all they need. It's for you to claim your own greatness. Why? Because some people need to be influenced into claiming their own greatness. Some people will only be influenced by you. But Seven, they can be influenced by him. They can be inspired by him. They can be inspired by her. They can be inspired by her. They can be, yeah, but it's you. I mean, we could argue all day why it is, but why argue it? We can sit here and argue all day. Why me, Seven? Why me? Oh, Veronica. Oh, my God. Okay, well, you remember that time? Why? Why we got to do that? The same thing that happened to you your whole life. Just different levels of it. Why we got to argue why? Why not? Why not? After we've gotten to the, you already know it, now we got to move to how to master these things. Magic is science. That's as majestic as it is. If you could do it more than once, you understand? Then there's a science to it. There's a science to greatness. Accountability is the cornerstone of it. Responsibility is the cornerstone of it. The do-itness is a cornerstone of it. And be willing to be wrong and then do the work to get it right. These are the cornerstones to greatness. And every level needs its own boss. Every level. You understand? This calling is for you. Whatever that calling is, it's yours. Step into it. And if you need to hold a hand as you go, inbox me. Seven, you know, I had a vision one day and it scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do it no more. You know what I'm saying? I do a course called the Alchemy Academics. It's a 4-week course. We get to the acknowledgement of what your gifts are, you know what I'm saying, and we talk about how to perfect it. And I promise you, more than not, people are so afraid that first time they do something that's so outside of the box, something that they knew or they had an inkling that they could do, and then all of a sudden it happened. It's not unnatural to be afraid of that. Oh, okay, so okay. Now that you know that it's not unnatural, now what do? We become responsible for it and we move forward. If I never said to anybody, if I never told the story of me throwing the magic and writing the code to get myself out of jail, then I wouldn't have been able to help the 6 other people that I've been able to help to do so. If I wouldn't have told the story about writing the code, then I wouldn't have been able to help the 16, 17 families that I've been able to help over the past few years change their circumstances by writing the code. If I wasn't able to talk about the greatness of some of these rituals, I wouldn't have been able to help the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that I've been able to help over these past years. Over 1,000 people in 7 years has been affected by me claiming my own greatness. But more so than that, I've been able to transform my life over and over and over again. Stop being afraid of your own greatness. Step into your power. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, we will no longer let ourselves down. We will be as great as we are until we're greater. I love y'all, family. Peace to man, woman, and child, and all things that walk the earth. As above, so below, may all things be balanced and well alignment. Do I as I send this love to you. You know what to do. Share the video. You've been watching Magic Up TV. I am Seven, the Alchemist.